Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank all the witnesses for being here today. We appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. But Mr. McCord, when you, our study committee was looking back at the Office of Technology Assessment, were you able to interview folks to find out how the office did or did not serve the members, the needs of the members? And then in that same vein, can you share some of those findings and what the lessons learned were that influenced the decision not to reinstate the OTA?
Congressman, yes, we interviewed, I believe it's about 127 people, including those, familiar with the old OTA, but our task was not to evaluate whether OTA, when it existed, was as good as it should have been, should be brought back exactly as it was. We were operating, in here and now. So although looking back at OTA was part of what we did, it was not the focus, I guess, of our task from the appropriations conference. So I would not want to represent our report as authoritative on whether OTA succeeded or failed in its time. That's really not what we were looking at. We were just trying to look at what would happen, what are the options before us today, and again, trying to make some judgments partly on what is this body and the other body willing to do, given the history of relative inaction on this subject.
So Dr. Blair, Dr. Persons testified that GAO uses the National Academies as a resource. Can you talk about how the GAO and the National Academies are coordinating and how you think the GAO could better utilize the academies as it expands its science and technology work?
I think I don't remember when the contract started. It was quite a while
2001.
ago. 2001. It was an illustration, I think, of the collaboration that is essential for success in the future of how this family of organizations can get more out of the collection than just the sum of the parts. That particular contract is to use the Academy's Rolodex, if you will, to identify the best and brightest minds, technical minds principally, associated with an assessment on the table, and that group of experts then can be used both to inform the assessment ongoing at GIO and to be a source of some degree of external review as the assessment goes forward.
So I have one more question for you then, along that same vein. The National Academies of Science were created in 1863 by a congressional charter.
Yes.
That was approved by President Lincoln. And they were tasked with serving as an advisor to the federal government on science and technology. Do you have any recommendations for how Congress can better utilize the National Academies? And do you have any recommendations for how the National Academies can better serve Congress?
That's a very good question. I think I might mention that right now the Academies is undergoing a transformation. The National Research Council, the operating arm, is undergoing a transformation to examine better ways that it can advise both the executive branch and the Congress. I think many of the things that are addressed in both of the reports, such as producing shorter, more timely reports, being able to provide information while an academy study is ongoing, and all kinds of different modalities for being able to advise the Congress are certainly being considered as we go along. At the same time, Congress needs to be a receptor to the advice provided by the academies to figure out where it best fits. And I think continued conversations like we're having with this committee will very much provide opportunities for improving that impedance match going forward.
Madam Chair, I'm out of time, but I think Dr. Persons would like to say something. Is that okay if we go on?
Just a quick response, from the GAO answer to how we're coordinating with the National Academies, as Dr. Blair noted, 2001 we started our standing contract. We use it on a broad array of technical work. By the way, it's important that GAO has precisely defined technology assessment in a particular product line way. Right, whereas I believe there's an apples oranges risk here where it's essentially everything OTA did is really science and technology policy when you really think about it from an oversight, insight, foresight process. So on many of our reports, including our oversight things, when they're particularly technical, like our antibiotic resistance report or superbug that's about to come out, emerging infectious disease work, that sort of thing, we routinely engage with them early on through the design and life cycle process and review toward the end. Secondly, what we're doing is also now doing partnered work. We're about to issue a jointly branded report with the National Academy of Medicine on artificial intelligence in healthcare for drug discovery and development. And so that's one of a series. There'll be others that are coming on diagnostic medicine as well as delivery of care, but that's that piece. And then thirdly, based upon the sustainable chemistry work that we did for this committee and that informed the SCRD, the Sustainable Chemistry Research Development Act, out of this committee, we are also looking at and building a partnership with a different board of the National Academies on how to estimate or compute the economic impact, or GDP, on chemistry on the whole economy, which has not been done yet. So we're proud to be partnered where we are. They've been a key partnership with us, and we do extensive work with them. Thank you.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you very much.